The power of denial is unbelievable. When I was a kid, I got caught. I stole triple beam balances from my science class, and I sold them to drug dealers for a pot. I was in 8th grade. I was like 12 years old.
All right.
And, I stole like 20 of them because I figured out how to get into the science. Anyway, I got caught, and they just knew I did it, and I just kept saying, "No, I didn't."
Nope.
I kept saying, "I didn't." I don't even know what you're talking. No. I don't even do drugs. I don't smoke pot. I just kept saying it, and I just wore them down.
You ever watch it?
And they finally said, "Well, we can't really."
Why is that not working for Barry Bonds?
That's true, though. If you just deny it.
Why is Barry Bonds getting ready to go to court for lying about something that you're saying that no one can prove it?
All he's got to do is keep denying.
Keep denying. Yeah, no, but it's different because he's black.
That must
I didn't want to say that.
Yeah, well,
let's be honest.
Of course, that's why.
I mean, let's just
when black people deny anything, it's the opposite for black people.
Oh, right. I forgot to
for
tell
black
you.
people, it's the opposite. When they deny something, you go, "Oh, geez,
Juice has been denying it for
Look at him lie. Jesus, what a liar." No, it's exactly. All white people, we have to...
That's amazing to have the guts to do that at that age.
I couldn't wait to do. I was dying to do it. I didn't.
Were your parents supportive?
They didn't. I mean, they didn't know. I was at school. It also happened at school.
When do you announce to your parents, "I want to be a stand-up comedian for my career"?
I guess after high school, and I had done a lot of drugs in school and had a lot of trouble. So my mother was like, "Hey, anything that's not."
But when you grow
up, a piece of shit.
But when you grow up in Newton, there's a tremendous a lot of Jews, a lot of academic pressure. Yeah. People want you to do well. I'm sure your parents put a lot of pressure on you to be good in school. Were you a shitty student?
I was a terrible student. I was in jail.
Did you think you were stupid? You were in jail?
Yeah. So that's why the bar was so low. That the fact that I picked any profession was really exciting.
Why were you in jail?
For like dumb shit, like breaking into cars and stealing the change in the.
No kidding.
Really?
Yeah.
You have no moral base.
I was a total mess.
What type of drugs were you doing?
It's smoking a lot of pot mostly, and then some. We used to do Quaaludes, which is crazy, and some coke occasionally.
I was so into those Quaaludes.
Were you really?
Oh my God,
they were really good.
Well, when you're younger than me, but when I was in college, they were 25 cents a piece.
Oh my God!
And like even if you had no money, 25 cents you could get Quaaludes.
It's like an M&M. It's not even that far off price.
And I believe I was addicted for a while because how can you not be? It puts you in the best place ever.
They're very dangerous too. That's why they don't even make them legally now, because they kill you. If you get addicted, you get like a heart attack if you don't.
Have you tried the shitty ones that they made now?
No, I didn't. I don't do drugs now.
No, I don't either.
Yeah.
But those are.
It sounded real credible. You two going, "Oh, I don't do drugs."
I remember they made you incredibly horny.
Yeah, they did. I remember getting little hard-ons. Yeah, I was like 12.
Oh, I was in college.
You were early on.
Yeah.
I would fuck women that looked like sheep on those things. It didn't make a difference.
Did the drugs make them look like sheep? So that you wanted to fuck them?
The drug, it didn't matter. You just had to fuck, and I gave them one as well, so that they would look at me and think I was attractive.
Everybody was having.
Everybody's happy. Yeah.
So wait a second. You're not a Jewish guy.
No.
But you grew up in a Jewish neighborhood.
Yeah. Well, Newton has sort of two parts. There's the Jewish homes that are big and affluent, and then there's the rest of the town is the people that service those, the people that mow the lawns and paint
Was
the
your
houses
family
of
the ones who mow the lawns for the Jews?
My mom was a single mom. She was a computer programmer. And I was raised just by her. Half a home that we rented. It was very small.
Oh, I see. Where was your father?
He was around.
Do you not like this guy?
He's not my favorite guy.
Oh, he's not?
No.
So you're saying when
I don't
you
really talk to him. I'm not really involved with him anymore. I haven't talked to him for a while.
Because he split and wasn't involved with you at all.
I didn't mind. I mean, I'm divorced, but I didn't walk off from the kids, though, so yeah, that's
Do you think that's why you're so devoted to your kids? You so desperately don't want to end up like your old man?
I doubt that that's not part of... That's like a triple negative. Yeah, it's probably some of it.
That's some of it.
But I do love my kids.
Did your father just leave you? Like, hey, you go pay the bills?
Well, he went down the street. So it was almost worse. No, he wasn't involved in our lives, but he was around.
He was literally around and just ignored you.
More or less. I mean, he's a very self-involved guy, so he, to the exclusion of others.
Did that make you feel...
kind of dude.
Yeah, did it make you feel like, gee, I'm worthless and I feel ugly and gross and why doesn't this guy want to... I mean, I don't know how much...
I remember more thinking, he's fuck that guy. I don't know. I don't know. I probably turned it on myself more than I remember. You know.
Did he have other kids besides you?
No.
Never hooked up with another woman.
He remarried pretty soon after.
So you hate
what
him.
about when you became
I don't
famous?
hate my dad.
You don't hate him. When's the last time you saw him?
A couple of years ago.
When you became famous, Louie, did he pay any more attention?
No.
Oh, that's good. At least he's
consistent.
Real.
No, yeah. He's not like that at all. I think the thing is, I actually tried for once in a while I would sort of go, okay, let's take a run at trying to get a thing going with Dad.
Yeah, right.
And just didn't work out. It would always just be a mess and
yelling,
and
screaming. That kind of thing?
No, just weird,
awkward.
Yeah, and he's just very it's like trying to talk to somebody who's got their head literally up inside their asshole. Like if somebody had their head in their asshole, you couldn't talk. You'd be like, "Hello," and you'd hear.
I'm in your asshole.
Can I get in there with you?
Yeah.
You're telling me though.
Yeah.
Have you ever sat down with him and said to your dad, "Listen, let's get this thing on track. I need you to really be there for me. I need you to pay attention." It's almost like I need you to go in therapy just so you get your head out of your ass.
I think he would enjoy that too much. I think he'd be too excited
about therapy,
and then it would go nowhere. Yeah. It's just it's hard to describe. It's also I never know exactly how much this is the most I've ever been asked about him. I don't really know what to say.
Wow,
he's out there somewhere.
It doesn't make you sad.
But do you care what he thinks?
Well, yeah, he's a human being, and I have empathy for him, and
You do?
Yeah, I don't think he's a bad person. I don't think anybody is. I think people get troubled to the point where they're not much use to other people.
Maybe this
make
is
him a bad person.
Maybe this is too psychological, but do you think the drugs and the stealing and all that was a cry for attention from him?
Sure.
Oh, it absolutely was.
Yeah, I guess as a father now, looking at what I think of kids going through that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, my daughter's 11.
Right.
So she's 2 years, 1 year away from how old I was when I started doing drugs and stuff.
Right.
So now I'm able to look at what my parents must have seen me going through. I mean, she's not going through anything close to that.
Right.
But, I'm sure that I was, that my parents' divorce had a lot to do. And
man.
Part of it. I don't blame him. Everybody makes their own choices.
Right.
Even when you're 12, you can blame your parents a little.
Yeah, but I guess you could blame him for not being sort of more there for you. But that's who he is. I mean, that's just kind of the guy
Maybe
he
it
is.
was better.
Also,
you never know.
I think my life was a lot better that my parents were split up. I think also life is very different now.
Right.
When people get split up and they raise their kids together,
they have
joint custody.
Yeah,
didn't exist then. When my parents were divorced, the mom raises the kids and the dad comes by once in a while.
Right.
And my dad is Mexican, and he was raised in this traditional Mexican Catholic way, even though he's Jewish.
Right.
It's a long story.
Wow.
So I think the context of his life is very different from mine.
What do you do for a living?
I don't judge him. It didn't turn into a relationship for us. What happened?
Right. What did he do for a living?
He was an economist for a while, but then he became an interpreter, Spanish to English, for courts. It's like he'd go around to courts.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And so when you start acting really bad and you start going to jail and doing some hardcore stuff, your mom has to come down and bail you out?
Yeah, my mom, who's raising 4 kids alone and working every day. Yeah, it was hard on her.
Do you feel horrible about that now?
Oh, every day.
You do?
Terrible.
Have you apologized to her?
Yes.
What does she say? She's like, well, that's okay. You were going through...
my mom and I have a great relationship, so we got through that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, if you have a tough time with a parent or something, as long as you stay with it and you go through it together, then you're the same people afterwards.
When she would bail you out of jail, she wouldn't say, what the fuck is wrong with you?
She would, but by the time my mom and I had a great friendship, and we talked about everything.
Wow.
So she'd come and she'd be so upset, and I'd feel terrible. By the time we got home, we'd be talking about something else.
Really?
Yeah,
God,
we liked to
It
talk
didn't
so much.
last. It didn't go on for a month.
No, she wouldn't cold me out like that.
Oh, my God. My mother would freeze me out in the tundra somewhere. If I did that for like months, it would just be tremendous guilt. So your parents met at Harvard, right?
Well, my dad was, a grad student at Harvard, and my mom was taking summer courses there.
So have you ever had your IQ tested? You must be a really bright guy.
That doesn't necessarily mean that, Howard.
Oh, absolutely. When both your parents go to Harvard, don't you at least feel like you have the pressure to excel at school when both your parents go to Harvard? And
no,
it
wasn't like that, really.
Really.
I never felt that in the house. My mom used to encourage. My mom was just a person who was really smart. So I was inspired to be smart by her. She didn't say to me, "You have to be smart." She just was a beacon. She was an inspiration.
You didn't bother going to college, did you?
No.
Because you wanted to be a stand-up comic.
No, it's because I didn't. I was such a bad student, and I was always in trouble in school. I wanted to. I loved learning, and I loved every subject. I was fascinated by school, but I couldn't do the work. I couldn't stay in the classes. I had to be out and outside.
That's such a rebellious thing. Like, I can't even relate that because I in school, I mean, to miss a class would have been like insane for me. Like that would be like my father would have just taken a gun and shot me in the head.
No, I used to walk out the door all the time, and I liked that feeling of like I'm just leaving this building and no one knows. I used to like the way that felt.
Where did you go? I mean, you're a little kid.
I'd go to Boston, and I just take the T into Boston, and I go to Harvard Square. And
did other
stores.
Parents in the neighborhood want you not playing with their kids and stuff because you're such a bad influence?
Well, it wasn't just me, and then the whole town was awesome.
You're like the worst guy in the town.
There was like in my generation of kids, there was like 5 of us who just did nothing but get high and skip school.
Right.
And we actually started to influence other kids. Like me and my friends, we listened to like punk rock and old hippie music and stuff. So I dressed like a hippie, and my friend Ian dressed like a punk, and we walked around like that. And we were outcasts for a year.
Right.
Like Beavis and Butthead almost.
Yeah, just like that.
Right.
And then one day we were out in the woods in our junior high school, out in the woods getting high, and some of these Irish bullies, really tough kids, came out, and they're like, "What are you faggots doing?" or whatever, you know?
Right.
So we're smoking a joint, so we shared it with them. We got them high.
Oh.
And then we became this horrible, the freaks and the bullies joined forces.
Over pot.
You know,
pot brings them together.
I so relate to that. In high school, I remember I was not a popular guy, but I smoked tons of weed, and there was a guy, terrible anti-Semite, just fucking, he just was open and blatant about it. Well, one day we're talking, I say, I'm going back to my garage to get high, because my mom got a job in high school, and I was like, wow, I could go back to my garage to get high. And he goes, oh, yeah, all right, let me have some of that there pot. And we're smoking. And the next thing I know, we're bonding. And and every kid I knew who was Jewish was like, how are you friends with this guy? He terrorizes us. I said, well, I don't know. We seem to get along with our pot. It is a bonding thing.
It is.
And yet you don't smoke at all now?
No, but back then too, we became such a terrible group of people that smoked pot. And my junior high school used to go to 9th grade.
Right.
In Newton Public School System, 9th grade was the last year. Then high school began in 10th grade.
Right.
But we were such a horrible grade of kids that literally because of me and my friends, they kicked 9th grade up to the high schools. So we were the last 9th grade class to be in junior high school.
Don't you? It's amazing you didn't flunk, actually.
Well, most of us did. Most of us did not pass.
How did you get?
But the school system didn't want us in the junior high school. Literally,
they just passed you through.
So they passed everyone up and let the high school with the larger, muscular teachers deal with it.
So you were like the town idiot.
Yeah, we were really a problem for the new.
Wow.
Great community, and we were just rotten.
Are you proud of that in some way?
No, I just can't believe I did that.
When you look back on your life so far, don't you see it differently? Like, oh, if I just paid attention and like maybe not that you could have been so, but you could have absorbed so much more and known so much more for your comedy even.
Yes, I really regret it, and I do find holes in my brain from acid I took and education that I missed.
Really?
Yeah. Did you do a lot of acid?
I did tons of acid.
I did acid too, and I think it fucked me up bad.
Me too.
And I tell everyone, don't do drugs because acid really is. I took too much of that window pane, and that was the end of that.
Well, it was really meant for doctors to administer.
Yeah, no, it was. No, I did not window. I did the blotter acid.
Blotter acid with little pictures of cartoons on it.
Yeah,
and stuff.
Mine didn't even have a cartoon with it.
No,
it was just
a
piece of paper, and it was awful. So
did you get into trouble when you were in high school because you started smoking marijuana? Is this a fairly autobiographical?
Yes, it is. It's pretty much exactly. Well, not exactly. There's a bunch of differences. This all happened when I was in junior high school. I was in 8th, 9th grade when I started to smoke pot and get high and drop acid and snort speed and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, it was really intense. It was a lot of drugs. And I dropped like LSD every weekend. It was crazy. And my poor mom, my single working mother of 4, didn't know where I was half the time. I would just disappear. And I was barely cognizant of any kind of life. I never went to classes. And I stole triple beam balanced scales from my science teacher, who I really liked, and sold them to a drug dealer. The difference is that Jeremy Renner character, the first time I meet him in the show, is closer to the truth. He was a nice guy who's just made me feel grown up and treated me like a grown up and made a square deal with me. The part where he gets scary didn't happen to me. I didn't get scared by the thing that I think it's important to know if you have kids, especially teenagers, is that the people they meet that are going to offer them drugs are not bad people. They're really cool people. If somebody, the fiction that you tell kids that people that offer you drugs are evil is not a good fiction to tell them, because they're going to be cool people who like them. And that's why drugs are so easy to fall into as a kid. And right away, well, my parents are liars because this person is cool. This person understands me better than they do. That's part of why people do drugs, is because they're making a connection with people that they really feel as strongly about. And also it's their first connection that they choose is their teenage connections.
What do you get?
But anyway,
what do you get out of LSD when you're in 8th grade? I mean, you're too young for the kind of mind-altering experience where there's some kind of new transcendental understanding of your place in the world, and you're seeing things with a new perspective, and you realize things about the world that you didn't. That's like not going to happen to you in 8th grade. So
how much acid did you do, Terry, when you were?
But so what is the 8th grade experience of an LSD trip?
Well, I don't know. I think that the one you're describing is I'm not sure whoever got that. I guess they did that back in the 60s. They had those feelings when they dropped acid. I don't know. It's just a really strong drug. I didn't have anything, any epiphany. I had some bad trips. Me and my friends went up to a rooftop once. When I got in trouble in school once, my dad took me to work with him and made me sit in a room in his office, like as punishment, because I'd been suspended from school. So he was like, "You're not going to just get a day off. You're coming to sit." He kind of put me in this jail inside of his office that he worked at. And when I had a lunch, he let me out for lunch, and I explored the building and found out that you could get on the roof of his building really easy. And that also there was a trick to getting into the building. So I started to drop acid with my friends and go up on that roof at night. So we would just sit up on a rooftop and look at the world, and you take the world in with this really intense euphoria when you're on acid. It was too much for me. It was too much. It used to scare the hell out of me every time I took acid. It really rattled me. It was very traumatic. And then I do it again. I don't know why.
Yeah, I was going to ask you why.
Don't know. It's like you're just looking for stuff to put in your body and wreck your brain with when you're I guess I wasn't in a good place then. I was in a bad place. So I don't think there was a good reason for any of the drugs I was doing. It starts as self-medication, I think, when you're getting high at first as a kid. You're trying to disconnect from your feelings, like you described in the beginning of this. It's a disconnection. You're trying to walk away from stuff.
Well, in the episode, a therapist tells him, "Look, your parents divorced. That's hurt you. And yeah, the drugs are working. You're emotionally disconnecting. They're doing their job, but you're making bad choices."
Yeah, and that therapist is a real guy. I was a real guy. I remember his name was John Longo. He was a social worker. My mother took me to, and he'd said that almost exact thing to me. He said, "Yeah, you're medicating, and some bad things have happened to you, and you don't, and it's making you feel bad, and you need to start making one good choice after another. That's all." He said, "You just need an adjustment. You're not a bad guy," which is what you should tell a kid who's that age, who's making those kind of choices.
Did you believe what he told you?
I did. It really helped. It was a huge help because it just gave me kind of a clean slate. It's like what Catholics look for from confession, a place to just say, "Look, I've done all this bad stuff." And then they can say, "Yeah, I get it. It's the kind of stuff people do. It's not the end of the world. And by the way, you were handed kind of a bad deal. So I get it. Try harder." So that's what he gave me, And as a kid, that's what I needed. And also because my parents were divorced and my dad wasn't present in my childhood and teenage years. There's this, you kind of have to raise yourself. It's something that happens to kids. Not all kids get a great set of parents. Sometimes they get one who puts in about 50% and one puts in about 20%. So they got to make up that 30 for themselves or find it in other people and friends and teachers. I remember when I was on the Tonight Show once with Jay Leno, Ricky Minor was the band leader for Jay Leno, and he told me that he had as a son who's going to start doing comedy. And I said, oh, great. And he said, my son graduated law school, but before he goes to be a lawyer, he wants to try comedy just as a perspective. And I said, it sounds like you raised a great kid. And I asked him, what was your father like? And he said, I never knew my dad. And I said, oh, you were raised by a single mom like I was. He said, no, my mom was a drug addict and couldn't raise me. I said, who raised you? And he said, a bunch of people. He said, I would just look for mentors in life. He said that he never took having two good parents for granted. You'd think that's the kind of thing that people have to take for granted, but he didn't. He found mentors and coaches. He would ask people for advice. He built parents in the aggregate. And I think all kids have to do that because nobody gets a complete set. No parents are perfect, by the way. It's not just that some parents are just awful and these poor kids. It's part of life. Your parents are going to do the best they can, So I think that's what I got. I had a very strong working mom. She was an incredible role model for me, but also she had a job. She couldn't pay full attention to me all the time. I have 3 sisters, too, so.